Hello and welcome to Recovery Talks with Anchor Recovery Community Centers. Today we are talking to Dennis Dutra, person in recovery. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dennis.
Hi, Holly. Thank you for having me on the show today. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means to me is I haven't touched alcohol or drugs since May 17, 2011.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's been a long journey for you.
Yes.
How did you initiate recovery?
I initiated recovery by going to a 12-step fellowship.
Were you pretty regular at that?
Yes, I've been active in that, among other things, since I first came into recovery.
Nice. What else do you put with that to ensure that recovery continues for you?
I do a lot of health and wellness activities.
Such as?
Such as going to the gym. I was doing yoga for quite some time.
How did you find the yoga?
I found the yoga through Anchor Recovery Community Center.
Oh, nice.
And that has helped me out a lot with flexibility, peace of mind. The meditation aspect of it has helped me out a great deal.
You found some centering in there?
Yes, I did.
That's good. That's good. So, did you start your recovery journey through treatment, or was it just the 12-step fellowship, or could you describe your recovery as beginning with treatment, or have you added treatment? How did that work for you?
It began with treatment.
It did begin with treatment.
Yes, it began with treatment, and after treatment, I went to sober housing. And
a lot of people aren't sure what sober housing is out there, so maybe you can just give me a little idea of what a day looks like in sober housing.
Okay, a sober house is it's a safe environment, and it's a little bit structured, but it's not too severe. You're required to do a certain amount of 12-step fellowship meetings per week. You have a curfew, random urines, and it's just a safe environment for you to live, where you know the people that you live with are free of alcohol and drugs as well.
Do you find that helpful, building your recovery network as well?
I did find it very helpful.
Nice, nice. So these days, what are you doing to try and get some of that recovery time? As you're building the recovery time, how are you trying to expand on that? What's happening in your life? Good things, what's going on?
A lot of great things are happening in my life today. It's a huge contrast from the way I used to live.
Huge contrast, I'm sure.
Huge contrast. Things continually and progressively get better for me. I'm accomplishing quite a bit in a short period of time. I'm able to feel good about myself inside, which I never had before. And a lot of that comes from doing service work.
Service work.
Yes.
So giving back.
Yes.
Helps you out a great deal.
Yes.
What are some of the things you've done to give back in this past time that you've been on this recovery path?
I volunteer for the Rhode Island Dream Center food truck.
Nice.
We go out once a week. The food truck goes out 7 days a week and feeds the homeless in our community. And I volunteer one night a week on that truck.
That's great.
I graduated the Recovery Coaching Academy at Anchor.
So you're a coach?
Yes, and also I am on the Behind the Walls Committee at DARE, Direct Action for Rights and Equality, and we helped to pass new legislation this year.
What legislation was that?
Ban the box.
Nice job.
Great.
Nice job. Go, Dennis. That's good. So it sounds like you're really active in your community, Dennis.
Yes.
And, I don't think some of the folks at home might know that the recovery community is really quite active in the community. It may not stand out as recovery people specifically, because we don't stand out outside of a normal society. But I think some people don't realize how active people in recovery really are with service work and give back work.
Yes.
It's nice to hear. What do you think about insurance? Have you found insurance barriers when you're coming up in the pathway? how you were initiating that recovery? Did you have to look for state beds then, or were you able to get insurance? I mean, what'd that look like for you?
Well, initially I was given a grant called the ATR grant, and that helped pay for part of my sober housing. Since then, I had tried to get state medical, but I was denied at one point, and I was able to get Rhode Island Hospital free care for a while. And due to the Affordable Health Care Act, I was able to get, just recently, medical insurance.
So now you're insured?
Yes.
That's wonderful. Are you finding that that works a little bit easier when you're looking and searching for services that can help you maintain your recovery?
Well, I'm sure it will. I had just received it, so I haven't been able to utilize it yet.
So you have yet to explore that?
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, at least you know you have new things to explore. Excuse me. What do you think is in the future for you? Which way are you going? Are you employed now?
Yes, I'm employed. I'm employed part-time right now.
Excuse me.
And that helps a great deal. I had a big barrier to employment at one point due to my criminal history.
And as a result of your substance use?
Yes, all directly resulting from my substance use.
Well, taking steps towards the future is always a good thing.
Yes.
Putting that stuff behind you is very beneficial. I can tell you myself.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Got a little bit of a cough. So tell me more about how you are obviously breaking down some barriers for others in your community, Ban the Box, trying to advocate for people. You're a coach in your community. You're doing all this give back work. How has that enriched your recovery?
It's enriched my recovery a great deal because it helps me to feel better about myself, that I put more of a value on myself now, whereas in the past I really didn't place much value on myself. So I'm able to give back and help other people.
I hear that from a lot of people in my community, that service work is really key to them growing in their recovery.
It is.
And you can't say enough about people that are willing to volunteer. Anchor's always looking for volunteers. So, and I know you've volunteered tremendously at Anchor, helping out with various events and projects, just like the one here today, Recovery Talks. Have you found that the general stigma and bias has affected you in any way, being a person in recovery, and how have you tried to overcome those kinds of things?
Not particularly, Holly. I find that it's no big secret that I'm a person in recovery, first of all, and I don't mind that people know that, because it's just another obstacle that I've overcome in my life. And for somebody to be able to pick themselves up and move forward after being in such a dark place, it's a big accomplishment. It's a miracle.
It is a miracle indeed, Dennis, it is. I've benefited from that miracle myself.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So tell me, do you have plans to continue your education? Are you looking into job trainings? What kind of things are you looking at as far as, increasing your education or putting more tools in your professional box, so to speak?
I am interested in continuing my education. I would like to further my education in writing. Yes, it's
so you're a writer.
Yes.
Is this part of your, is this part of your recovery process, journaling and things like that?
It does help me in my recovery process. It's mostly creative writing.
Nice.
And it does help me a great deal.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think a lot of people are like, well, when you get in recovery, there's no more fun.
That's not true.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun.
I try to tell people that you can always have fun in recovery. Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the things you do for fun?
Well, I like to do karaoke. I go on Saturday evenings at Anchor for karaoke, as a matter of fact. And
sober karaoke, what a thought.
Karaoke. It's great.
If you can have fun at sober karaoke, things are working well.
And we do have a lot of fun. And also I go to dances, and I just go out with my friends sometimes, and we'll go to Newport Creamery, and we'll laugh, and we just do certain things that I would never have done in the past because I was too busy doing other things that were not positive.
So you think, do you think the 12-step fellowships and your, involvement with Anchor, your involvement with all of these, volunteer opportunities, it's really sounds like it's strengthened your network of support to kind of hold up that recovery plan and that recovery path?
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Definitely. I've met a lot of great people. I have some really good, strong, positive friends today, and that's also something I've never had when I was in active addiction. So surrounding myself with positive people is key.
Yeah.
It is a key element.
So you've got numbers to call when you're having that kind of a day where you need to call on that support, huh?
Absolutely, and I use them.
And you use them. That's key too, isn't it?
That is
We see a lot of people
essential.
have a lot of numbers, but they're not always using them, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's fantastic to hear, Dennis. So you say you do some creative writing.
Yes, I do.
And what kind of creative writing are you doing novels? You're doing poems? What kind of creative writing?
I do different styles of poetry, sonnets, sestinas, spoken word poetry.
Fabulous.
And I wrote a song.
You did.
Yeah, I just got it produced recently.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
Dennis. Fantastic. Why don't you share some of that poetry with us today?
Okay. This is a piece I wrote when I was in active addiction, and it's called The Beast in Me. And it goes, I started out acting decently. Without a doubt, it is now a feat for me, seeing as how my feasting has been increasing recently, frequently releasing the beast in me that's lacking decency completely, capriciously bringing out the least in me, and it's been increasingly displeasing me. I've needed help and I've pleaded with myself, but can there really be peace for me on this creepy sea? Or will I have to cease to be to truly feel free? Well, if I do, don't weep for me too deeply, because it's a crazy these days. I'm amazed, and in the hazy days, eyes glossy and glazed, wandering through a crazy maze of blazing, dosing and dazing and blatantly craving ecstasy, liquid G, LSD, and trees. Do you still have the dope I was saving and asked you to keep for me, please? Well, I'm bored and I need a drink. Then leave me be so I can think, because I'm afraid to blink. I'm on the brink of a disastrous catastrophe. My life is moving too fast for me. Pass me that glass, please, but slap on another blast for me. If you ask me, it's a tragedy, but I do have a strategy, and I can get past it, man. Before I end up snapping like an elastic band, who knows where I will happen to land, probably back in prison, understand? This decision wasn't planned to become an addict. I'm feeling spastic, it's drastically tragic. Am I under a spell from some kind of black magic? Because I'm feeling haphazard and I'm headed for my casket, bastard. Was I asking to be a blasted waste? My brain feels plastered like paste. It's a fall from grace and I'm fast-paced for last place. And the morphine that can make my daughter an orphan case with a sad face. And her dad can't be replaced. But sadly enough, that's often the case when you mess with the dope and bass and don't rest for that coke you chase in this hopeless race. Sure, ketamine and methamphetamines will pour the endorphins like water poured in. But I'm worn thin from putting nails in my coffin. But sometimes I feel like I just can't win, that I was born into sin. Smoking pot and drinking gin and tonic, thinking I'm invincible and supersonic. But the principle is I'm not bionic, I'm just psychotic when I'm on it. I started out just smoking a little chronic, thinking it was harmless. And what's really ironic is I still want it.
Wow. That's pretty powerful, Dennis.
Thank you.
That's pretty powerful. Sounds like you wrote that right from the bottom of your soul.
Yes.
And so you have been able to extend some of that creativity due to your recovery?
Yes, I have. Due to my recovery, I was able to appear when I was invited to perform at
Appearing's half the battle, isn't it?
Yeah. DARE, Direct Action for Rights and Equality, and Brown University has invited me a couple of times to perform.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. I have a question. If you were coaching somebody and they were asking you what the best path is, what would you say to somebody,
I would ask them what they would feel would be most comfortable for themselves to do. I would offer different options to them and let them choose their own path to their own recovery.
Was that the case for you when you initiated recovery? Were you allowed to choose your own path, or were those treatment plans made for you?
Well, there were some things that were made for me. However, I chose my own path anyway.
Well, yes. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
At Anchor, we support all paths to recovery,
Yes.
and we do offer a wide range of things. So we want people to try different things. I'm glad to hear you say that you give somebody the option, because recovery is really individual, isn't it?
Yes, it is. As we are.
That's true. As individual as we all are. I do remember you just saying that, you implemented yoga.
Yes.
And here you have this written word that you're working on. You're, you're still working a regular job. You're looking at education possibilities. It sounds like things are really going well for you in your recovery.
They really are.
It sounds like you found some footing and some stability. I think that, with this show, we're just trying to show people that recovery is not just possible, but it's probable if you search it out. And what you're describing, there's a whole big network out there. Yes. Just kind of waiting to receive people. That's the way you kind of made it sound to me.
And the best part about it is recovery can be really fun.
It can be fun. It
Yes.
can be fun. I think that we have various projects at the center that, some people really gravitate to, and then others like, no, not so much. Like we were talking about the karaoke.
Yes.
And, not for nothing, sober karaoke is definitely different, but we do have a lot of laughs.
Yes,
and it does take a little moxie to get up there and sing sober.
Yeah, it really does.
It takes a little bit of, it takes a lot of moxie actually, but I have to give kudos where they're due. Now,
have fun with it.
What do you think about your physical health? How are you kind of looking at, okay, so recovery's good, things are going well, you're maintaining that recovery. You mentioned that you work out at a gym. So
Yes.
I'm just thinking about, as a full wellness plan, what kind of wellness activities, besides the gym, you have a regular regimen that you follow? Or?
Yes. Yeah, I go to the gym 2 or 3 days a week.
Yep.
More if I can. But it's funny you ask that, because I haven't had one hospitalization since I put down drugs and alcohol. It's amazing. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought? It works. You get healthy when you stop using, I know.
Yeah.
But, regular checkups and things now that, we probably, I know I wasn't making. I mean, can you relate to that? Like, were you
Absolutely.
making those regular wellness checks, or getting these necessary screenings? Every year they just go, hey, you're this age, you need this screening. I mean, those things were foreign to me in my own active addiction. I don't know. Can you relate to that?
Absolutely.
And so now you're now what do you think? You're more savvy to the ways that you got to make sure you maintain that physical health as well.
Absolutely.
It's a different world, isn't it?
It sure is. Much better, Holly.
Yeah.
Much better.
How about sleep? What about sleep for you? I know a lot of people complain about the sleep, the busyness in the head, and I've heard, so many different stories about, the sleeping is, not really good. I mean, you're obviously further along in your recovery than some of the folks that we're talking to that are experiencing these things. But sleep is probably one of the number one complaints I get. What do you think about that?
To be honest, Holly, my sleep is still intermittent. But I get a good 4 to 6 hours. I just have to go to bed earlier. It takes me a while to fall asleep, and I have a hard time staying asleep. But I do get enough sleep so that I can get up in the morning and do what I have to do the next day.
So routine helps.
Yes.
So you're trying to maintain that routine more and more.
Yes.
Are you finding it easier as you gather this time in recovery?
I do find it's getting easier, and what I try to do is set up key things that I need to get done the following day, and that helps to motivate me to get up and get out of the house the next day so I can get those things accomplished. And then I feel so much better at the end of the day because I've gotten some things accomplished.
So you're still goal oriented. Goals really
Absolutely.
set up during the day help you out.
Yes.
And that's pretty key. I tend to use the same kind of regimenting myself. I still do the goals, and it really is helpful for me. So I'm glad to hear it's helpful for somebody else too. But I think that's part of that whole recovery network is you can find people that relate to you and you relate to them, and special bonds are made all the time in recovery, I think.
One thing I wanted to say about the goals is once I started accomplishing goals, it helped build momentum for me to want to get more done because I see that I can get certain things done.
So more accomplishment bring more
motivation.
More motivation.
For more accomplishment.
Yeah, that's. Plus, it would probably give you an idea that it's possible that whole belief that you can accomplish it. You
Absolutely.
know, that part is probably, for me it was, but you know, for yourself, it's what I'm hearing is that accomplishing more and more in your recovery truly did give you the idea that you can succeed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a great thing, and hopefully the folks at home hear that recovery is full of success, and that's really what we want to bring to them with
Holly.
Recovery Talks. Now, I heard that, when we were talking earlier, I heard that you were doing some work, in the State House. And what was that experience like, advocating, kind of coming out in your recovery, your personal recovery? Was that nerve-wracking for you, or did you find it exhilarating? How did that work into it?
I think it would be a little of both, Holly. I was very nervous doing it. The lobbying, approaching senators and speaking to them about legislation was something I wasn't really familiar with. I wasn't used to. Something I've never done before, but seeing that I can go up to a senator, coming from where I've come from, and be able to talk to that senator one-on-one and gain his perspective on the legislation that we're trying to pass, and being able to rally his support it felt like an accomplishment.
It was an accomplishment.
Yeah, it was.
Let me just validate that for you.
And it was very exhilarating.
That's wonderful.
And as far as speaking at the White House in public, that was very nerve-wracking. But when I was asked to speak on Legislative Day, I was happy to do so. And as nervous as I was, I still went ahead and did it. And I felt good about doing it.
Well, the recovery community certainly thanks you for doing it, Dennis. I thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Holly.
I think it's important that the rest of the community know that we're a valued part of society, and all of the volunteer work you're doing. I mean, obviously you're a valued part of the community, and I just think a lot of people don't realize that. So when they have the opportunities to step up, you don't need to necessarily violate your traditions of your 12-step by kind of coming forward and saying, hey, this works. And, you don't have to be a prisoner to this addiction disease anymore. There's a way out.
There is.
And the more people that do it, obviously, the more people hopefully get that hope that there's something out there, better than what they're in,
Yes.
We also touched on the basis that you had a lot more support. Your network was really stronger, and does that include family bonds? Have your family
Absolutely.
bonds? How have they? How can you speak to that? Can you speak to how your family has grown or gotten stronger as a result of your recovery?
Yeah, I feel it has. I feel I have a much stronger relationship with my family now. Big part of what I see when I look at my mother's eyes, for instance, is I see happiness in her eyes when she looks at me now, not sadness and pity, which is what I used to see when I was in active addiction, because I was hurting her just
as well as hurting yourself.
Just as much as I was hurting myself. And when I was in active addiction, I had the mindset that I was the only person that I was hurting, and that was a big lie that my disease was telling me.
So in recovery, you've been able to uncover some of these lies.
Absolutely.
And find a lot of truth, it sounds like to me.
Yes.
I think that most people find a lot of truth in recovery. And of course, at Anchor, we're always hoping that more people come and try to enjoy recovery, find some more supports in their community. And, you're just one of the many reasons why they can stop in at Anchor and say hello, and can I get a coach, or can I talk to somebody? I've seen you many times, offer up a hand, or, a shoulder, or even a hug. Some people just need a hug, and I've seen that happen many times, Dennis. So I'm glad you're here today, kind of spreading the good news, if you will.
Thank you.
What do you see in the future for you, your recovery?
I have goals of writing more songs, and most of the things I write are message-based, and I would like to try to send a message to our youth how the path that I walked is not the path that they should walk, by bringing to light the negative consequences. So that's a goal I have, is to create more message-based material that can send a message to young people, because that's when the grips of my addiction grabbed me at a young age. And I see a lot of the music today glorifies that lifestyle. So I want to incorporate some positive message into music to counter that.
Well, I think you're giving a positive message today, Dennis, and hopefully the folks at home get that positive message and share it with others. Obviously, here at Anchor Recovery Community Center in Pawtucket, you can always get a coach. Maybe it's Dennis, maybe it's someone else. You can get services like yoga. There's 12-step groups they can go to. There are a number of different paths that we offer up.
Don't forget art classes.
Art classes, yes. A little bit of everything, because not one path is the right way.
Sure.
So we thank you for watching us today on Recovery Talks. And next month you might see myself or somebody else being interviewed, because we just want to get the message out there that recovery is possible. And thank you, Dennis.
Thank you,
again, very much for coming by today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.